Chapter 5. Compound. Compound interest is the most powerful force in the universe. Albert Einstein. It's all compound and it's all compounding. You'll be mindful to understand this, as it is vital that you're aware that you are compounding and aware of what you are compounding. Just like the snowball effect, the little snowball begins to roll down the side of the mountain. The more speed the little snowball picks up, the more snow it compounds, and the bigger and more powerful it becomes, smashing everything that crosses its path. It is in the exact same way that all of life compounds, and life appears to be moving faster the older you get. As you get older, all the information and experience you take in compounds into wisdom. It is in the same way that a martial artist studies their craft and gets rewarded over time with different belts in the order of their compounded experience. Everything is being compounded in real time. The seed that fell from the tree to the ground is being compounded by the earth it fell into, and that pressure with the elements combined will cause it to sprout and then grow into a tree that will in turn repeat the exact same process. Over time and with the right environment, that is how forests are formed. With the right soil and the correct elements, like enough space, sunlight, rain, the seed has every chance of growing into a beautiful tree. It all works in the exact same way for us. We just happen to require a few more elements than just space, sunlight, and water. We do those start compounding experiences from the day we are born. You really don't have to look far for examples of this. 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 89, 144, and on to infinity. The Fibonacci sequence, the ratio of which is 1.618034, the golden ratio or golden number. This mathematical ratio can be seen compounding in most things in nature, in ourselves, and throughout the cosmos. It is believed by many to be evidence of the signature of our architect, creator, or God. As above, so below, the emerald tablets. My theory is this: just as we and everything in our known universe and beyond follows this rule, then it makes sense that the rule must also apply to all factors in our lives and not just what we can currently see. I believe then that life is most likely compounding in exactly the same way. Everything we see and experience from second to second, minute to minute, hour to hour, and day to day, literally compounding at the rate of the golden ratio, whether we are aware of this or not. There's nothing more powerful and amazing in this world than knowing that everything you can fathom and more is in the process of growth, expanding, and developing into something even more amazing and even more wonderful. This growth process is constantly happening all around us, in us, and through us. Everything is alive, from the stars above down to the atoms and the particles that make us human, down to the air we breathe. The idea that we are the result of some big bang and out of pure luck and a random chain of events, everything came into being in perfect alignment and symmetry is not a pill that I am willing to swallow. There are clear and undeniable rules of law that lead me to believe that there is something in play that is way beyond our comprehension. The power of compound or growth is one such rule that cannot be ignored. Compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it, and he who doesn't pays it. Albert Einstein. Compound interest in the financial sense is a reinvestment of interest earned from the principal plus consistent increase of the principal, consistently done over time. The compound effect would lead to the creation of wealth. If you apply the same process to yourself as a person, then you begin to get an understanding of exactly how everything works. Bear in mind, though, that the compound effect is a default setting for everyone and everything, meaning that everything you think, say, do, or feel is compounding, with or without your knowledge or say-so. Some are better than others, or more conscious and aware than others, at checking their bank balance themselves to see exactly how much has been earned over what term and at what rate of interest they are growing. If there is any truth to my theory, then that would mean that every encounter experience would be absorbed knowingly or unknowingly at the rate of 1.618034, or the golden ratio might be our optimum rate of compound and not necessarily achievable by every single person in existence. More of a goal to aspire to, or it might have been dumbed down so much over time that at this point, not even possible. Or we might enter the world compounding at the golden ratio, and the longer we spend here, the more we grow here, then the more we pay less attention to how we are growing and concentrate more on our own selfish wants and needs. Just a thought. There's also no distinction from right or wrong, good or bad, positive or negative, and opposites in general. When it comes to the power of compound, if you do believe in God or higher power, then I would say that this is the power of free will that was bestowed upon us. The power to be masters over our destiny through the ways in which we choose to compound our experiences in the physical through our thoughts, words, actions, and feelings. We are free to take whatsoever path or direction we see fit, and the world will bend to our will, give us exactly what we choose to compound, or show what we truly want. Remember that the compound effect is the default setting. So you have to be aware that you are not always going to see the change or growth as it's happening, be it good or bad. This is the reason that when people are going through a tough time, they can never seem to see a way out of it. It does not, however, mean that because times might be hard, that the compound effect has stopped working. The compound effect is always at work, making tougher times easier a little bit at a time. You might never even notice it, and the situation might still appear the same, but over time you would have changed and became tougher yourself. And what was once a tough situation to you is now nowhere near what you thought it was. You've just compounded the experience of the situation and your resolve, and you've grown into the kind of person you need to be to take on the obstacle at hand. You're not always going to be aware that you are growing, as the compound effect happens in real time and in the present. I would like to believe that there are people who are very much capable of tracking their progress as they compound in every aspect of their life. You see this especially in athletes as they train to get better at whichever sports they play. A runner will gauge stamina or power in real time by racing the clock and recording when they do beat their previous record, which would be their indication of the compound effects happening. This is an example of an indicator of growth or progress in a short space of time. You have to bear in mind the compound effect is acknowledged after the clock is stopped. You have to take into account all the times a runner did not beat his record, and the more training he had to do, diet he had to change, all the times he nearly gave up because it seemed an almost impossible task. The one thing that is always wise is to have like-minded people around you with similar principles and similar goals. In the same way an athlete would have a team and a coach, that ideally should be the role of your family and friends. The coach or mentor should be someone who has enough experience to help you keep your head in the game even when you appear to be dealing with uncertainty. The team should be like-minded also and moving in the same direction. If you do look around you and the people around you are not playing these positions or might be moving in the opposite direction to where you need to be going, then you're compounding the wrong data. The compound effect never stops though. You have to make sure that the information, data, or habits you're absorbing are positively beneficial. The compound effect or the growing process is as much instant as it is gradual. Over time, those little and insignificant changes all compound together, and by the time you notice, you're now an expert scuba diver, professional footballer, graduate, or senior member of management, depending on your goals and aspirations. The instant and insignificant changes is where most people give up. Reason being that they're exactly that, little, instant, and at times somewhat insignificant. This does not though mean that the compound effect has all of a sudden chosen to stop working. It doesn't work like that. Once you have a goal in mind, you have to make sure that you commit and see it through. Let the habit of the compound effect do its job. Doubt only creeps in because everybody wants their results right now. While in the middle of the task at hand, if the results are not quite where they should be yet, then the mind or inside voice by default to protect you will cast doubt to the whole process. There is no such thing as failure. For even in failure, there's experience through the compound effect. If the task is not completed to the level you had hoped for, then you still have a completed task and the data you can use to improve and attempt it again. Everything, every experience, every situation, every person you encounter is going to be a blessing or a lesson. It is down to you whether you are ready to understand your lessons and receive your blessings. A lesson can be repeated many times, just like at school, but once completed or understood, it will become a blessing. You do have to make sure you understand this, as that will be the difference between whether or not you fully appreciate your blessings enough to manifest more, or appreciate and understand your lessons enough to turn them into blessings. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. George Santayana. The majority of people are scared of failure and rejection. This is the reason that dreams, ideas, ambitions, and goals are forgotten and left on the shelf. They don't fully understand that in simply beginning the process alone, there is power. The mind again will always cast doubts and give you reasons why whatever it is you have in mind will never work. In that way, it can prevent you from failure and embarrassment and shame you might suffer from friends, family, peers, from wasting your time. The real power of the compound effect is in the execution. No one ever became the greatest at anything without starting, planning, practicing, executing, and over a period of time mastering and becoming great. It takes 10,000 hours of deliberate practice to become an expert. Malcolm Gladwell.